I'm Debbie, and welcome to Baked Basement Banter. I'm the director and choreographer of REEFER Madness.
I'm Miles Keily-Baxter, and I'm the technical director.
So, Miles,
Hello.
you have been our technical director since our first show.
Yeah.
Which is a few years now. What do you think the most challenging project we've done together has been?
Challenges are hard to measure in technical theatre because it's like, well, for us as a team, what might be very difficult is easy for different teams. For me, personally, I think Chicago was becoming it. Chicago, because we got to like a month out of opening before we had to pull the plug on that. So a lot of things were already being figured out. Being discussed, and it's like, I think that was the biggest challenge because that was the biggest thing, and I didn't know what I was doing.
Fair.
Like, Next Normal was difficult, but I had enough experience to be like, I can make this work.
Yeah, that's true. And I'm curious, like, speaking of like what you see as difficult, what do you think is the most difficult part of being like a technical director? Like, what do you see as your biggest challenge?
For me personally, I think it's when you have to make something that was complicated more complicated at the last minute. It's because then it's usually when it's like, oh, now I need to involve another department in this thing a week out from opening. Like, now when you put a microphone in this prop or something like that, it's like, it's figuring that out. Yeah.
And what do you think is like the most exciting or like fun part of technical direction?
Oh, the funnest part is, which happens a lot with you, is just when a director is like, oh, that's this impossible thing. You're like, all right, what's this impossible thing? I'm feeling good. I can do a lot of impossible things. And then they say something like, no, that's easy. I have a box for that.
Yeah, that's always really fun when I come with an impossible thing and you're like, no, it's fine. We can do that.
Yeah.
That's like a very satisfying moment. But it's also annoying because I feel like on the flip side of that, there are many times when I come to you with something that I'm like, this is a simple thing we can do. Yeah. And you're like, that's impossible. Yeah, maybe not impossible, but
it's always funny, like, oh, this is something we do. I'm like, Canadian, in Canada, that's illegal.
Yeah, that does.
It's only happened for this show once,
that's true.
Which is a good record.
That's a good record so far. We're only 2 months in. It's fine. Everything's okay. But yeah, what do you think is the most difficult part of doing a show about marijuana specifically, or what's been like a fun obstacle? How about we call it a fun obstacle rather than the most difficult?
Obstacles, like, obviously the obstacle that everyone in Canada knows, that everyone in Quebec knows, that presumably you and I will talk about as well, is depicting. Canada, Quebec has weird laws about what we're allowed to depict on stage. It's not even from like a safety perspective. It is anti-drug laws, like especially strict anti-tobacco laws in Quebec. That means we can't have cigarettes on stage. It's like, oh, we can't have real cigarettes. Like, no, I can't have fake cigarettes on stage. And that's fun.
Yeah, it's definitely challenging to like talk about stigmas because there are stigmas. Like, that's been like the kind of like interesting thing I've been learning so far on this project is like, yeah, like the whole point of doing a show that is kind of anti-propaganda and anti-stigma is to challenge stigmas, but then also like as you work on that, you encounter more and more stigmas, which is really interesting. What do you think is interesting or like fun about doing a satire show in particular? Because that's something we have never worked on together before. But I don't know if you've done something like that in the past.
I've done like satirical stuff in the past because I used to, at McGill, my brief period at McGill, I was in sort of the improv groups and sort of a lot of that kind of stuff. And then back in London, when I did more like writing up on stage, it was a lot of comedy. So I've done enough satire. I think the interesting part with satire is, in some ways, it's a lot easier than drama to make your audience think and make your audience analyze themselves, and that is really enjoyable. And I do find it is fun hearing the conversations around satire as like, what is the line? Where's the boundary? Where's like, and people coming and taking it serious. And you're like, wait, what is your life like? This you're like, serious.
Yeah, I find that too. Like, I find that the comedy, in a way, invites people in some ways to think about things more seriously. Because it is also so ridiculous. Like, that's what I find is fun about it, is, like, it is making things so ridiculous that, like, you are, like, forced to look at them rather than trying to, like, there is that power to, like, obviously, like, depicting in some ways what feels reality on stage. Like, I also love that kind of theater, but I think that that's also what's fun about musical theater. Like, musical theater already, I think at its core, is always like, I don't know, satirical, but it always has like a little pinch of like, we are doing things bigger.
It should.
Yeah.
It should if you're doing properly. It's very weird when people are like, I want to do this completely naturalistic musical theater piece. I'm like, they have to sing, motherfucker.
Yeah,
like,
they do break out into song often.
How's that?
I think there's some shows that definitely invite it being more realistic, but I think what's fun about this show is it like definitely invites you to like really lean into like the ridiculousness of musical theater itself, which is what I'm having a lot of fun with this show, and I know we're having a lot of fun with backstage in the show.
For the next 2 shows, there's gonna be some ideas like, why didn't you say this for REEFER? For this show, no.
Yeah, like REEFER is like, it just invites, I think, so much fun of theater itself, which is something we're definitely doing in this show. And partially inspired by a show you introduced me to that you love, which is the classic The Goes Wrong show, which is so much fun.
So for watchers, viewers at home, The Goes Wrong show is the TV show made by the people who did the play that goes wrong.
Yeah.
So they did the play that goes wrong, that was wildly successful.
It is hilarious also. It was part of my research, was going to see that show. Was actually going to see them live.
Apparently still on Broadway. Did they close it?
Hopefully, maybe. Yeah. It's still on Broadway right now.
Yeah. And then they did a film special, 2 film specials for the BBC that like full length, hour and a bit long things, and then they started doing a TV show, which is a different show.
Yeah.
Each like 30
Which
minutes.
Miles introduced me to a couple years ago, and I was like, oh my god, it'd be so much fun. And I had the thought of like, this is such a fun way to do satire, because like they do that in their show a lot. Like I do think some of them are just ridiculous and fun, but I do think a lot of them do have little political digs.
There's surprising amount of commentary.
Yeah, which I think is a lot of fun and what drew me to it. And when we decided we were going to do REEFER and we were doing satire, I was like, and it's a show within a show structure, which is something that I love and like have always wanted to do, and I think it's so much fun.
I do love them. I think it's like they're both weirdly overused and underused. Like I find that a lot of I don't like a lot of meta comedy. It's like, ooh, we're tongue in cheek. I fucking hate that phrase. Because it's like, you never commit. If you've got to... The whole point of us doing a show within a show is the show within a show we'll despise.
Yeah.
Like, no one on the production team or crew is like, I shouldn't be saying this for reading their political ideologies, but like, nah, fuck that shit.
To be clear, like the show within the show being a very anti-marijuana propaganda show that is being put on.
Yeah.
Yeah, which like people are not necessarily pro in our team. We are not necessarily super anti-propaganda, marijuana, hardcore people. That's not why we're doing this.
But then it means we can commit to that and make the show properly. Because like if you're doing satire, you need to be aware of like you need to commit to this. It's like you can't do it halfway. Like the last very political show I worked on, I did get quite annoyed because we had a conversation. Initially, they meant, we need to be balanced. And then they told me to cut all the things to show me the left wing in the bad light. I was like, okay.
Yeah, that's the thing with political commentary. Like, you do, I think, need to choose a little bit what your viewpoint actually is. Even if your viewpoint is, not any viewpoint is wrong. Although I don't think that's our particular viewpoint in this show.
No.
So basically, when I came to you and I initially had this idea of taking the show within the show and having that show go terribly wrong.
Yes.
What was your kind of initial thoughts on that? What were some things that as a tech director you're immediately like, oh my god, this and this and this and this and this?
I love it, but it's like you immediately have a thought of something they're discussing of like if you want to do something that is deliberately going wrong as a joke, you have to be so good. Mm-hmm. It's like you have to be so good to deliberately have things going wrong because otherwise you end up in a situation when the audience doesn't know.
Yeah.
It's like either the audience doesn't know if it's deliberate or not, or they can't tell that particular instance was deliberate or not.
Yeah.
Which you don't want.
No.
But I really liked it. I thought for this show it was a really good idea. I think it really helped carry it because it's not a simple show, and if we were doing it kind of straight, there's a lot we have to fight with the show.
Yeah, it's definitely like it's got a lot going on already. So like at first, I definitely feel like we were all, including myself, like I was really committed to the idea, but I was also nervous about the idea. Honestly, it wasn't until I really had, for me, it was like the moment that I was like, this is gonna work, was when we finally had actors in the space after like months of talking about it and coming up with tons of gags and having all these ideas, and then actually getting to see the actors who are brilliant. Like depicting these ideas and actually doing them physically live in front of me rather than just in my brain. I was like, oh no, this is really funny. Wait. This is really funny.
Genius.
Oh yeah, that was the moment I had exactly. That's what I thought to myself. Yeah. But yeah, no, it's like it's been such a fun thing to work on, despite being a little bit challenging.
But yeah, it is fun because it is fun, especially because I'm doing it, because Play That Goes Wrong, they write the show for this. This show wasn't really.
But like it also wasn't. What's interesting about the show within the show, I found, and the reason that I got the idea is like it's not written to go well though. Like the show within the show is written to be kind of a bad show that doesn't quite work out. That has like a few interjections and a very cheap set and like a lot. Like it's written to be that way. So it was kind of like a fun challenge for me because whenever we're doing musicals, I think both of us are really committed to like you're not trying to necessarily redo what happened on Broadway or like in a smaller scale. Like you're not. That's not interesting.
It's so dull and such a bad idea.
Well, it's just like, it's not interesting, and like, yeah, there's probably someone with $1 billion budget out there that did it better than you, so like, why try? So with this show, I think it was fun because it was like I found like, it wasn't working against the script, but it was drawing, which is what I try to do. Like, you're never trying to do a show that is like, working against your script. Like, you still want to tell the story of the script, and like, for me, I think the story of the script is all about kind of poking fun at these institutions and poking fun at
it wasn't much of a reach.
Yeah, it wasn't exactly. So it's just a different take, but it also for us, I think, has added a lot of challenges and a lot of obstacles in some ways. But also sometimes it can be fun and help us work around challenges, which is also handy.
It has been freeing because it's like I think if you were writing a script from scratch, you do have a lot more of the jokes than the dialogue. But because we can't change the dialogue really, it's like a lot of the jokes come from the tech and the production, and that's really fun to be kind of the lead in the room for that. Of like, hey, we could do this, and then also being like, for this gag, Emily in the booth is going to say fuck under her breath. But that'll be enough so everyone will hear us.
Yeah, I think that's going to be the fun. I think that's like what I like about this show too, is it does bring production elements that are always there, but like kind of purposefully highlighting them, which is kind of fun. Like, which brings me to another question that I wanted to ask you about, like, what do you think is like the least understood part of what you do? Like, as a technical director, what's something that you do that you feel like people don't, or like, how would you describe your role to someone who doesn't have any idea what that means?
So the technical direction is basically is like, you in sort of ideal professional theatre is you have the directors talking about stuff, and you have the designers who are designing stuff, and then it's the TDs, their job is to actually make that happen. It's, it's drawing up all the schedules, getting the designs, and making sure that they are safe and legal and will not collapse and are actually possible in the budget, and then turning them into construction drawings and actual plans and all that, and like getting it done. It's making it from a design into a plan.
Mm-hmm. But it's true, like people don't, it's very, even for me as a director, that's been like a really interesting thing to learn, is like how much I've gotten to grow out of working with designers, out of working with you over a few years, especially like Sony, you really don't know. Like, people outside of technical theater often have no idea what actually is going on in order to just get those actors lit, in order to get those actors heard, in order to get things balanced in the space so your eardrums aren't killing you. Yeah, like, there's a lot of work that goes into making that happen that, like, tech directors and, like, designers are really at the helm of. Which is really underrated, but super appreciated by us theater folks.
It is fun.
Now more than ever, we should really be appreciating our technicians. So like I'm very happy we were able to sit down and talk about tech direction and get to know a little bit more about what you do on the show, so the audience at home can.
To depict certain things on stage. Wow! I had a good fucking answer.
It started.
It was going well.
That was interesting. Interesting subject.
What that came from.
Yeah. So we're doing this interview right now, and
we've acquired this prop.
SFX.
Quickly, I had to pass it off to be modified.
Guys, it squeaks.
Yeah, we learned. We